You're watching iRacing on the Ghostfire Media Network.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Josh Laston here for Ghostfire Media, and we are going to have a great one for you tonight. We are going to be running 60 minutes of road racing in the Cup cars, and it should be an absolute blast for everyone involved and a blast to watch. The one thing we do need to keep in mind this week, outside of the fact that everybody has to turn right, is the fact that we will have at the 20-minute mark in tonight's race, we are going to have a competition caution to close up the field, give everyone a chance to get fuel, tires, and then it's going to be a sprint to the end. So we have a relatively sizable field for the AOLL at a road race tonight. We have 22 competitors, and this track alone is going to create a lot of passing opportunities, especially in the final turn, which is turn 13. It's actually the oval turn 1. There's no chicane in the track tonight, so it is a flat-out run through the back end of the track. Qualifying has already started, and just about everyone is out on the track running their first lap. So let's go with who is always a favorite within these road races, Blake Gordon. He is actually coming to the tail end of his lap, getting on to that fast section, and we'll get to see what kind of a lap he's running. Oh, I lost track of where he was. He's actually just in the middle sector and starting that third sector, to where this is a very tight section of track. The turns that he is coming up to are some of my least favorite in road racing, to where it's a long straight, followed by a sweeping left-hander, a quick right into the tightest turn, turn 10, on this entire track, which is where he's at now. Now it's a little bit of feathering of the throttle through turn 11, and now it's full throttle all the way to the front stretch and turn 1, which these guys are going to be coming into that close to 200 miles an hour and need to get down to something close to 30 to make this first turn. It is a harrowing lap as Blake actually puts down the second fastest lap by 1/100th of a second behind Justin Anderson, who is out on his second lap right now and quite deep into it. So he is currently just through the first sector into this section of hairpins. This turn right here, this is 5 if I remember correctly, or if my math is off. Could be. This one you need to set up perfectly into the turn he's currently in so you can get the most speed out of this drag on the back stretch. And again, you're braking hard before going into this technical sector. And right now, Justin Anderson is provisionally pole and apparently decided to screw up, so he is no longer out there. Blake is currently in second. Joe Dinsmore in third, who is currently on his second lap, followed by William Klingbill, who is wrapping up his final and blinking out on me a little bit there, and starting the drag race to the finish line. Currently in fifth is Sean Carmody, who relatively new to the Cup, but is a formidable road racer, so I expect to see great things out of him tonight. And we have the newest member of the race winners for the Cup Series. Greg Wellen is currently sitting in fifth and has wrapped up his laps for the time being. Dan Shirley, another one of the prime road racers in the AOLL, has moved himself up into fifth. And Blake Zeedy, another one of the TNT drivers cutting his teeth in the Cup right now, is sitting in eighth. And Carl Henderson, who before the race had a little discussion with him and said that he was thinking about not qualifying because the one thing that I can say I expect to see is a lot of chaos in turn one tonight. Anytime you have a heavy braking zone and such a tight turn, someone's going to miss their braking point, and they are going to plow into people. It's rough. It's a massively fast section before, and getting yourself slowed down for this tight turn is going to be difficult. So we do have 10 minutes worth of qualifying right now. So we're going to go ahead and just keep cycling through the field. Steve Gottschalk, one of the veterans of the AOLL, is out there setting his first lap and putting himself into 11th. Let's see if the tower is going to go ahead. No, of course it's going to give us issues. So we'll leave it up there. We have two people currently apparently in 9th, to where that's Brian McFerrin. No, it's just screwing up. He's actually in 9th, with Adam Wood, and Steve Gottschalk apparently decides to spin. Then Justin Rodden, another newer addition to the Cup Series, is setting his first lap with 3 minutes left in qualifying. We'll see where he ends up tonight. And tonight, most of these guys do not pride themselves on being road racers. I wish we had the opportunity to pull up where everybody's licenses as an iRating are, because there are a few guys out here, most everyone in the Cup Series, when it comes to ovals, they are A or B class, which outside of the pro are the top two rankings, and then there's C, D, and then rookie. And I know for a fact we have quite a few rookies in there because most everyone is focused on the oval track, and it would appear that apparently Kevin Muller does not want to show up. Ah, there we go. Kevin Muller hasn't set a time. Hopefully he can get himself around and get something thrown down before we get ourselves going for the night. Another thing that we will need to note for tonight, and something that makes me actually very happy as we see Kevin Muller getting a little loose, getting onto the high-speed section, is there are no full course cautions outside of the competition caution tonight. There will only be local cautions, so there's not going to be any massive incidents bunching up the field, making it to where we run painfully long tonight. And while we do have some guys that are not expert road racers, it's still going to be great viewing. We should expect a lot of battles throughout the field. And I think, personally, for my money, we are going to have the battle for 3rd through 6th is going to be where everything is. It's going to be a great battle because as we look at everybody's times, 1st all the way through 6th are all in the 132s tonight. So let's go ahead, take a quick look at the grid, and of course it decides to go there. So on pole tonight is Justin Anderson. 2nd is Blake Gordon. Joe Dinsmore is 3rd. William Klingbeil 4th. Dan Shirley 5th. Greg Wellen 6th. Sean Carmody 7th. Blake Ziti 8th. Brian McPherson 9th. In 10th, we have Justin Rodden. 11th, Adam Wood. 12th, Steve Gottschalk. 13th, Carl Henderson. Brandon Bernhardt's in 14th. Andrew Burgess 15th. 16th is Ed Springer. 17th is Kevin Haas. 18th is Nick Adams. 19th is Mike Burgess, 20th is Timothy St. Jean, 21st is Kevin Moeller, and 22nd is John Gordon. One thing we do need to keep in mind is it is showing as Timothy St. Jean is not currently on the track tonight. And of course, we are going to have a full pace lap ahead of us to get everything nice and up to temperature, which means we are going to have a rolling start, which is going to make turn 1 even more disastrous if people are not careful, and the big thing, patient. The entire first sector of this track, it's wide. There's a lot of room for people to go side by side, with the exception of that transition between 1 and 2. I was out running test laps with these guys earlier. The track has definitely evolved, so there is going to be a lot more grip on the racing line, but it's going to be difficult to keep traction if you are off of the line. So if you go wide through a turn, miss the apex by a car's width, there's a good chance that you're going to have to brake much harder than you normally would. And it's going to make things a little bit difficult and most likely offer up a passing opportunity for someone behind you. And right now we are getting ourselves to the point that the pace car is leading them through the tight technical section and onto the high-speed oval, and we should be green flag racing soon. While we do that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the track map, which apparently doesn't want to decide to show up for me right now, so. As the pace car is off and we are going green as they rev up and are getting themselves to the line. Justin Anderson gets a great jump on Blake Gordon, but the question is who is going to be aggressive going on the inside into turn 1? It looks like everybody is being relatively gentle as Justin Anderson stays in front of Blake Gordon through 1 and 2, but Blake is definitely getting himself set up to come out of this apex a little bit lower, maybe try to get a drive on to Justin Anderson going into 4, and in turn set something up for turn 5. And we are incident-free through the first sector at this point, which I'll admit is somewhat surprising as Blake Gordon tries to get on the outside of Justin Anderson, heading down the backstretch. And we're going to wait and see if Blake decides to try to outbrake Justin into the corner. He'd rather just be right on his bumper as the two of them are starting to drop Joe Dinsmore. And through turn 10, he is not relenting at all. Blake is just trying to keep himself right in the draft of Justin Anderson to where he's going to be able to get an amazing run on him on the front stretch. As he tries to go outside early, gets himself underneath Justin going through turn 13, gets a little bit loose, but they are going side by side, and it looks like Blake is going to have the pass done. He's just not going to be able to get up into the right line for turn 1, so this could be interesting as they are hard on the brakes. Justin gets a little bit squirrely, but Blake has the pass done, is around. Justin goes wide through turn 1 into turn 2, holds up the field, and that is giving Blake Gordon nearly a 2-second gap over Justin Anderson to start this second lap off. But let's go ahead and take a quick peek back a little farther in the field as we're starting to see William Klingbill, who did start up towards the front. He started in 4th and he's now running in 8th, to where Sean Carmody is right there in front of him, and we are seeing quite a stack up back here in the midfield as we go into turn 8, 9 through 10. We are still clean. We have not seen anyone make any massive mistakes, but we're seeing Sean Carmody and Blake Ziti starting to battle, the two teammates in cars that are going to confuse the snot out of me for a little while because they are the same color, just different number. Gonna have to yell at them to change this because that is real confusing. But we can see right now, up in the lead, Blake Gordon is just running away. He has nearly a 3-second gap to Justin Anderson, who is starting to pull away from his teammate Joe Dinsmore a little. But right behind Joe, Greg Wellen, who seems to have gone off the track slightly, relinquishing a little bit of speed, getting those two Endeavors who are going side by side into the braking zone. And we are just single file as we see the 01 of Justin Rodden go a little bit wide, let William Klingbill get around him. But Brian McFerrin is now waiting in the wings with Steve Gottschalk right behind him. And these guys are just pushing hard in this first section of the race, just trying to jockey for great position for that competition caution. Because the farther they can move themselves up, the better chance they have of making a great move into turn 1 and then making up even more positions. Right now, the battle on the track that's best to watch is actually, let's go ahead back to the back in the battle for 12th between Brandon Bernhardt, who gets a little bit squirrely in 12, giving the wide open door to Adam Wood to take over the position. And he is just running away, but he has nearly 5 seconds to 11th at this point. And that should not do too much to him. As long as he can hold on to the position, once we get the competition caution, he is going to get himself back up with the rest of the field. And I'm starting to see a little bit of stuff going on as let's take a quick gander as it looks like Mr. John Gordon crashed, but it looks more, yeah, he just ended up missing his braking point into 1, getting into the grass and spinning a little bit. Something that, hey, I've done way more than I should. But right now we are actually starting to see a train form up behind our third place runner of Joe Dinsmore. His teammate Dan Shirley is right behind him. And then he has Greg Wellen, Sean Carmody, and Blake Ziti all waiting. And as they hit this section of track, the draft is going to be huge. And we should see Dan Shirley catch up to Joe Dinsmore just a little bit, but he's going to pull those other guys right along with him. And there's a reasonable chance with how these cars are geared, they're hitting the red line way earlier than they would want to, and ending up losing a little bit of speed as we see Blake Ziti brake a little hard to get himself down low. He thought he may have had an opportunity to get around Greg Wellen, but he slots right back in behind him and is living to fight another day as we're starting to see Sean Carmody get closer to him, as Dan Shirley is looking to get a little bit closer to Joe Dinsmore in third. And this train that we're seeing right here is about to have another person join the backside of it in William Klingbill. But it looks like Justin Anderson is closing down the gap on Blake Gordon. And he is under a second at this point behind him. But I don't want to look away from this as Dan Shirley gets loose coming out of turn 10, which is not an easy one to keep traction on. And that gives Joe Dinsmore just a little bit more breathing room. But we do have a 3-car pack right behind him that should be able to go nose to tail and gain just a little bit of extra speed on Joe, as these guys are just dropping back a little bit, and we're starting to see Sean Carmody maybe looking to take a peek down the inside into turn 1. Gets himself back up onto the line. Looks like he has a much better exit out of turn 1 and closes the gap just a little bit on Greg Wellen. But I'm going to make a quick jump up to our front runners here, as Blake is not comfortable just yet. As let's take a quick look, as it looks like Mr. Nick Adams crashes, and he probably just blew his braking point here. Yes, and tried to turn it in, and gets a little bit of a tag on Kevin Moeller in the process. I just want to see right now, Blake has opened a bit more of a gap up to Justin Anderson. But that padding that Joe Dinsmore had is now gone, and Greg Wellen is going to be able to suck right up to him using the draft on the high-speed section. If these guys can keep traction through this final turn, they may be able to have 2 people get a move done going into turn 1. As Joe breaks down low to try to break the draft, but he just relinquishes the position to Greg Wellen. He is on that low line, goes a little bit wide around turn 1, and that's going to create some congestion to where Blake Ziti actually locks up his brakes, trying to avoid hitting the back end of Joe Dinsmore. And that's going to slow both him and Sean Carmody down, as Blake is right up there still. Sean is flirting with these curves a lot, and these two, I know that they're friends in real life, and they are just going to duke it out tonight. Going to create a lot of entertainment for us. But as Greg Wellen takes off and Joe Dinsmore is holding these two up, we're starting to see another train forming right here with Dan Shirley at the front, William Klingbill behind him. Justin Rodden and Brian McPherson are going to look to get themselves up to this pack that's fighting very hard and use this as an opportunity for them to set up another great run on this backstretch and down to the start-finish line. As we start lap 8 of the night. I'm going to see, should be able to, let's change it to the time so we have a better understanding. We are nearly 12 minutes into this race. So we've only got about 5 more laps before we get our competition caution to bring the field back together and run ourselves to the finish. But let's go ahead, while we seem to have a bit of a break in the action, as no we don't. We have Sean Carmody and Blake Ziti going back and forth as Sean makes the pass, gets a little bit squirrely coming out of the turn. It seems to be the case there everywhere, as it looks like Blake may try to throw one down on the inside, but does not have the proper positioning for that. Let's see if one of them can get a better run out of turn 10 and onto the backstretch, but these guys have been fighting to keep up with Joe Dinsmore, who has dropped himself down into 4th. He's only lost 1 position from the start, but he does not have an easy go of it to hang on to that position with these two right behind him. But let's take a quick break. We will not be going away from the action. You'll still be able to watch it, but let's hear a little bit more about the AOLL.
The AOLL began online racing in the mid-1990s, with Papyrus's NASCAR racing still going strong 27 years later on the iRacing platform. The TNT series races on Thursday night, running the ARCA Chevy cars for drivers looking to learn and have fun. The Cup Series races on Sunday nights, featuring league veterans and Class A licensed drivers. The Sportsman Division races on Wednesday nights, running the Gander Outdoor Trucks with drivers from the Cup and TNT series. You can catch all of the AOLL racing action right here on Ghostfire Media.
And as we were on break, we had a bit of an incident where William Klingbill gets a little bit around, so let's take ourselves back here. Just ends up getting a little bit loose as he tries to get back on the throttle, gets himself turned around, takes out Steve Gottschalk, and Adam Wood also gets himself around. That's unfortunate. William looked very strong, started towards the front of this field tonight, and has dropped back 7 places into 11th. But as we move ourselves back up forward, right now we are looking at the battle for 8th with Brian McFerrin and Justin Rodden. This is the closest battle that we have on track right now. This is the tail end of a train that are all separated by about a second. And these guys, and also while we were on break, both Sean Carmody and Blake Ziti get the pass done on Joe Dinsmore. So let's see what happens here. Oh, just Joe's forced on the inside, can't really get a good run into 9, which is going to be greatly important. And Blake just gets the pass. It's a great move. He set that pass up a few corners prior and gets the job done. But in the process has lost considerable ground to Sean Carmody, who is now running in 4th. And right as I say that, I get a little bit of a flash, and it looks like Mr. Nick Adams is involved in his 2nd of the night. Just goes a little bit hot. into turn 4 and gets himself around. As we come back to the front stretch, Joe Dinsmore is not letting Blake Ziti get out of touching distance. Going into turn 1, if somebody tries to be a little bit more brave on the brakes there, you can gain considerable time as Blake goes a little bit hot and can't really get himself set up for turn 2 very well. Lets Joe close down that gap, and with these cars not being as aero dependent as something like an Indy car, you can run right up against them and not have any kind of major traction issues caused by aero. But as we're hitting this backstretch, Joe's going to look to be right behind him. Currently, the speed differential, Blake is running at about the same speed, so Joe can't make up too much ground there. Blake does seem to miss his apex slightly, letting Joe get close, and the closer he is going onto the high-speed section, could spell trouble for Blake, who is relatively new to iRacing, and then there's Joe, who has been sim racing for decades at this point. But he does have just enough of a gap that Dan Shirley has taken dive onto pit road, as we only have about 2 minutes before the competition caution. This is strategic. He's not going to come in during the competition caution. He may lose a few positions in this process, but being someone that does not have to make his pit stop under the caution, he's going to cycle himself to the front and be able to lead this race. So right now, he's only dropped himself down to 10th. He is slowly moving back in the field, but he is the only person who has gone into the pits at this point and does not seem to be at risk at all of going a lap down, as the car that's coming up behind him is Kevin Moeller. As right now, he may have gone a lap down. No, that is Kevin Moeller. I thought it might have been Justin Anderson, but I couldn't quite see. But we are only 1 minute away from the competition caution, and it looks like Nick Adams has crashed again, but we don't need to see that for the 3rd time tonight. But Dan Shirley is taking quite a gamble with this strategy, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it pays off. He is going to have 1 lap older tires. Puts himself down below Kevin Moeller to get himself into 16th. But right now, Justin Anderson is doing the same thing. So we're going to see, as he misses his pit box quite badly, that's not going to help him at all. But Justin Anderson is in the pits. If he is able to come out in front of Dan Shirley, we're going to have the 2 Steel Horse Racing teammates right next to one another, as the competition caution should be flying momentarily, to where Justin timed that perfectly. He's out in 9th place in front of Steve Gottschalk and Carl Henderson. And there it is. And apparently my, yeah, we're a little screwed up because I don't think we're doing 3,000 or 32,000 laps tonight. So the competition caution is out, as Blake Gordon is hitting the backstretch to where he'll be the first one to catch the pace car. And he may be kicking himself right now, thinking, maybe I should have gone into the pits early as well. Where Justin was not out on those tires long enough for them to go through a heat cycle and get any kind of wear. So Blake is getting up to the pace car, so he's not able to dive into the pits quite yet. And this is going to be quite interesting. But we will see. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and turn that one off. How this one shakes out with everybody currently looking to catch the pace car. Let's hear from our sponsor tonight, Guitar Attic.
Hi, I'm Randy from the Guitar Attic. Can we be serious for a second? Are you tired of being a loser? Can't do anything right? Feel like everyone's coming down on you all the time? Well, there's a way out, and I'm gonna show you. Hey Mom, look what I learned. That's right, pick up a guitar, learn how to play guitar. Automatically you're gonna become a chick magnet. The ladies are gonna love you. Your kids are gonna think you're cool. So what you need to do is come down here to the Guitar Attic, 16725 Ridgewood Avenue in Daytona Beach, Florida, or go on guitarattic.com and buy yourself a guitar and automatically be the star of your neighborhood. That's guitarattic.com.
As we are back just in time to see the entire front of the pack making their way into the pits. So this is going to be interesting. Right now we just have Justin Anderson out on the track, should be making up positions and getting himself right in front of Blake Gordon, as there he is, and we're seeing some of the pack still had not caught the pace car. So this is going to end up shuffling this pack up quite a bit, but the unfortunate nature is a pace lap on this track is all, as Greg Wellen gets around Blake Gordon coming off of pit road. Hopefully he didn't speed, but that was a brilliant stop on his part and getting himself in front of Blake. So Blake is actually going to be starting in 6th right now. We're going to go ahead and take a look where everyone stands as we are under caution. And it looks like we may have had a few people who decided to not come in, take the track position. Although William Klingbill did come in earlier in the race due to an incident, probably had to get some repairs done. But these guys, this is a gamble. And right now that I know he is out of the pits, I'm going to go ahead and bring up one of the other Ghostfire Media commentators. We're going to bring up Adam Wood. Hey Adam, this is Josh in the booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy, man.
So, I have to ask. First off, are we going to need another pit stop tonight?
It doesn't look like it. I mean, I think we should be fine.
So, the next question is, what? We only saw 2 people go into the pits right before the competition caution, and they are currently our 1 and 2 runners of Justin Anderson and Dan Shirley. Did the thought cross your mind at any point?
I think it's more of an integrity thing. I think we were trying. I mean, there's no rule against it, but there's no rule not against it. So I don't know, man. I know somebody spoke up about it, trying to figure out if we were supposed to do it or not. I'm just riding around having fun. I was hit with a little yield on the turn 1, trying to give the people a little bit more room, but apparently I hugged the this little spot right here, this little bumper, I hugged it a little bit too much, and they gave me a yield penalty. Put me back a little bit and tried to make my way back up.
No, it's been a great run. You're up 2 spots from where you started. Are we 1 to green or 2?
We're 1 to green now, and Carl, unfortunately, he missed his pit stall. Didn't count down for him, so he had to run back in. So he's going to have to start at the tail. So he's got to pit quick and then try to catch up. So that's unfortunate for him. He was pretty fast. He was trying to catch up and get around a whole bunch of people tonight.
No, he was actually making great progress through the field, and yes, that is quite unfortunate. But since we're hitting the second half of the track, I'll get you back down with the guys. Good luck, and hopefully I didn't just give you the commentator's curse.
Most like you did. I've been consistent up to this point, but, it always fails. I'm not.
All right, thank you, sir.
Have a good one.
All right, that's the biggest thing I wanted to bring someone up for, was to see if we're going to be able to make it on fuel. These cars are going to chew through their Goodyears. There's no way around that one, as Adam goes a little bit off as he's trying to keep himself in the right position. But let's actually take a quick look as Mr. Carl Henderson is slowly getting up to the rest of the pack. But he has a few cars behind him at this point. But we are coming into the point. The pace car should be off. And right now, Justin Anderson is in front. He gets to dictate this start. And are we not? No, we apparently still have 1 more lap. I'm not sure if they ended up throwing the caution a little bit longer because we still had a few people looking to catch up to the field. But we definitely have 1 more lap of parading around and 1 extra minute of lap time. But this gives us a great opportunity to sit and let's run through where everyone currently stands. Right now, Justin Anderson is our leader, Dan Shirley in second, Greg Well in third, Blake Gordon's in fourth, Sean Carmody's in fifth, Blake Ziti is in sixth, Joe Dinsmore in seventh, Brian McPhear in eighth, Adam Wood ninth, Andrew Burgess in 10th. Waiting for things to cycle through. Steve Gottschalk 11th, Ed Springer 12th, Kevin Haas 13th, Rodden is in 14th, Nick Adams 15th, Brandon Bernhardt 16th, Carl Henderson 17th, John Gordon 18th, Kevin Mullard 19th, 20th is William Klingbill, and Mike Burgess rounds out the field. Currently a lap down in 21st, and Timothy St. Jean did not make the grid today. So as we are seeing our leaders entering that final sector, I'm wondering if it looks like they may have switched to a single file restart here, as we aren't seeing people go side by side. And nope, everybody's forming up just towards the tail end here. And if Justin was to do things in the right way, he's going to actually wait until the green flag drops, because the longer he's on this high-speed section, the better chance somebody has of getting a draft and actually making a great move into turn one. But we'll see, is he patient or does he go early? It looks like he goes early, gets an amazing jump, so we're going to see Dan Shirley and Greg Wellen fighting, jockeying for position, as we're seeing Sean Carmody look like he's going to get himself down in there. He has to abandon, locks up the brakes, stacks up the field. Had he timed his braking point perfectly there, he would have been a hero But instead, he does end up moving a little bit back. But the real loser out of all of that was Dan Shirley, as we're starting to see Blake Ziti and Sean Carmody getting side by side again. Luckily, these two have enough respect to give each other enough space, as we have 28 minutes to go. They'll give each other enough space as Sean gets loose, collects it, but that's going to create an even bigger gap up to our front runners, to where Blake is currently a second and a half to his teammate of Blake Gordon. As they hit the tight technical section, and nobody has, as Dan Shirley does get around Sean Carmody and is going to be looking to get a move done on Blake Ziti going into turn one, if not before. He's a little bit lower on the line there, which will cut off a little bit of time. He's in the draft, and he's definitely close enough to be able to get a move done, as we see a little bit of swerving to block that low line. And I have a weird feeling that that one is going to be looked at after the race, as Dan does get the job done into turn one and is off to the races, but that makes it to where Blake Ziti gets passed by Sean Carmody and leaves the door open for Joe Dinsmore, who's going to look to make up positions, because he is 4 down from where he started, and definitely not someone I would be expecting to be running in 7th right now. He's got a lot left in the tank, and if we are going to go, as Adam said, to the end of this race, I would think that Joe is going to be the hard charger, because he is great on his tires, and he's not going to do anything exceptional to try to get around these guys. He's just going to bide his time and wait until he has the opportunity, as the front three are currently bunched up as Justin Anderson leads them on to the fast section. But these guys are close enough to where, as Justin gets a little bit loose on the transition onto the oval, but Greg Wellen and Blake Gordon, we're going to see what happens here. And Blake gets a little bit squirrely, but gets down on the inside of Greg Wellen. It's going to be see who's better on the brakes. And my money's on Blake Gordon right now, as he looks like he may even be able to get Justin Anderson. But he gets Greg Wellen, gets a little bit loose, carrying a little too much speed into turn 2. And now coming out of 3, Blake Gordon and Greg Wellen are side by side. Blake goes hard into 4 and relinquishes the position back to Greg Wellen. And coming into the hairpin, just backs himself off enough to where he should be able to get a great run going into 8. But we're starting to see Dan Shirley, who has made the move around Sean Carmody, look to get himself back up into the thick of things here. But Sean is right on his bumper and should be able to get the draft and get himself into the right position to make it into turn 1. He may actually be just far enough back to not be able to get too much of a run on him. But as I said, Joe Dinsmore is starting to make his way up to this little pack that we have right here. But he also has Blake Ziti closing in, taking a peek to the inside, but he's not going to be able to get it done. Sean Carmody is a little bit wide in turn 1. It's going to make it to where he's going to have to slow down a little bit too much in 2, and therefore kill all of his speed into 3 and 4. But right now, we're starting to see this pack at the front form up again, where we should have some great moves going into the first turn again. Because as long as they can keep themselves within striking distance through this center sector, it should be another time that Greg Welling can get himself all the way up to the front and lead a lap. As Justin gets a great run out of 11, giving himself quite a bit of a gap. But these guys, the current speed difference should make a huge difference, but Justin is just too far ahead for anybody to be able to make a late break into one and get him on the inside. Justin looks like he may have started his braking a little bit earlier than Greg Welland was expecting, where he has to hit him a little bit harder, gets a little bit squirrely. But right now, I think these guys are just going to settle in. We'll see who's going to be better on their tires, and ultimately, who's going to be the faster driver at the end. Because these Goodyears are definitely not made for turning both directions. And these cars are a bear to drive once these tires fall off. And let's actually take a quick gander a little farther back in the field, as Joe Dinsmore has got himself from 7th up into 5th. But he's going to have to defend against Dan Shirley, who has charged along with him and has Blake Ziti right on his bumper, having no extra space. And these two should be able to work together on this section and get a little bit of extra speed right up to Joe. So they should be able to get close enough to make a pass on this next lap, as we still have 21 minutes left to go. And with the timed races, if we have the leader cross the finish line before time is up, and the expected lap time is going to be over the point, as we see Blake Ziti go a little bit wide. If the expected lap is going to be past the point to where it will take us past 60 minutes, so if our leader crosses the line with 45 seconds left in the 60 minutes, chances are that's going to bring out the white flag. That's what it's supposed to do. iRacing has its own mind in these situations, and we'll see what actually happens. But after this competition caution, and we have hit the 20-minute mark again, we are spread out throughout the field to where right now we can run back and look as William Klingbill passes around Carl Henderson. It looks like Carl was giving him the space because William is going to be a little bit faster. He did qualify farther forward, just had one error that sent him to the back of the field. But we aren't seeing many passes at this point, and Carl Henderson, who did blow his pit stop, has actually made his way back up towards where he started, and is currently running in 15th, as Greg Wellen misses turn 1. Getting around Justin Anderson, just goes a little bit hot, goes through the grass, and in rejoining, tags Blake Gordon. And it looks like we also had Blake Ziti crashing, and looks like he may have tagged Dan Shirley in the process, as yes, Blake was not in the right position to be making that specific move at that time. gets the rear quarter panel of Dan Shirley, sends him around, and both of them lose positions. But that gives Adam Wood, who is up in 7th right now from starting in 11th. He's having a very strong run tonight, just keeping his nose clean and being opportunistic. But after that incident between Blake Gordon and Greg Welland, Justin Anderson is now over a second and a half in front of Blake Gordon, who may actually be dealing with a little bit of damage. And yeah, there's the outside of his car. It's looking a little worse for the wear at this point. The rear's good, but there's a reasonable chance that he actually is going to have some troubles making the right-hand turns with the car in that situation. But if there's anybody that can adapt and still find speed, Blake's going to be the one to do it, as he has actually kept the gap where it was. But we're starting to see the entire field start to spread out. As right now, this is the closest battle that we currently have. And this is the battle for 7th, as Adam Wood did make the pass, get himself up into 6th due to the carnage in front of him. But Dan Shirley is not giving up. He is on Steve Gottschalk, looking to get around and get himself back up into that top 5. He has the talent, he has the speed. The hope is he's not driving angry right now, because that could be problematic and end up having someone step out as you see somebody go off track, and that looked like Justin Rodden. Oh, just gets on the power a little bit too much going into the final turn, and ultimately steps the back end out and goes for a ride in the infield. As Dan Shirley is a little bit cautious going into turn 1, but that could just be him trying to get himself set up to make a pass on Steve Gottschalk, as he is right there, and being held up ever so slightly has brought Andrew Burgess into the picture, as Steve gets a little bit loose, which is going to close the gap down. But Dan backs off ever so slightly to make sure that he can keep his nose clean, as Steve goes wide, real wide through 6 and into turn 7, giving plenty of space to Dan Shirley, as he's going to have a little bit of a drag race on his hands. Down into the heavy braking zone of turn 8, gets the pass done, and now sets his sights on Adam Wood, who is nearly 5 seconds in front of him right now. But he's looking mean, he's looking fast, and he's going to make his way up there soon enough. As Steve Gottschalk and Andrew Burgess are going side by side onto the fast section, as Andrew Burgess gets a little bit wide, but carries enough speed to keep himself in front of Steve Gottschalk. We'll see what happens here, as Dan Shirley is diving into the pits. Chances are he's going to end up taking his fast repair, get some new tires for these last 15 minutes. And we're going to definitely start to see a little bit of extra aggression coming out of that car, as he's just falling back in the order. But right now, Blake Gordon and Sean Carmody are making their way up, getting themselves up to Justin Anderson, to where Blake is only about a half a second in front of Sean. And with where he's positioning his car, he's going to be able to make some aggressive moves. going on to the front stretch and into turn 1 as he is on his bumper, not leaving any kind of space. And the only thing I can think to myself is that Blake is dealing with a little bit of suspension damage from that incident with Greg Welland. But as they come onto the front stretch, Sean does end up backing off a little bit, didn't quite get the run out of the corner that he would have wanted, and still has a little bit of work to do as he locks up into turn 1, misses the apex pretty badly, but manages to keep himself up with Blake, and Blake gets a little bit of grass right there, doing Nick Adams' job of mowing the lawn, but Blake gives the position to Sean. So honestly, the only thing I can figure is Blake is dealing with some damage, and Sean is the best chance that Endeavor has right now of catching Justin Anderson and getting the team win. Keep in mind that Justin did come in before the caution, so his tires are going to be a little bit older. Most of it was on pace laps. But even if they are 2 laps older on these kinds of road courses, they're heavy braking zones which are going to kill the tires, and a lot of higher speed corners. So they are going to be tough. They are going to get hot. And if we're looking to make it to the end, that could spell disaster just from those 2 extra laps, even under caution. And I'm going to make a quick move back towards the back of the field as Greg Welland is looking like he's going to try to make a charge through the field after his early bobble and hitting Blake Gordon. He makes a pass in turn 10, which is unbelievably tight as we see Ed Springer and Kevin Buller get contact a little bit, and that doesn't have any kind of an incident on my side. So there wasn't contact. Kevin just got himself a little bit throttle happy and brings himself around. And right now, I want to bring this up. Since Sean was released by Blake Gordon, he is lapping a half a second faster than Justin Anderson. And Justin's going to be in trouble in only about another lap. For these guys, this is going to be a great battle towards the end of this race, as both of them get a slide a little bit sideways coming out of 12 and into 13. As we're going to take a quick look back, as looks like Mr. Blake Ziti had himself a crash and just totally missed his braking point and runs into the runoff. But right now, this is turning into quite the battle between Sean Carmody, who is still lapping faster than Justin Anderson by nearly a half a second per lap. He's only 1 second back at this point and is definitely within draft range going into these turns, as long as Sean does not end up having any kind of a mistake. He is going to be around Justin Anderson. It's looking like this lap, he's only a half a second back right now, and as they hit the fast section, he's definitely going to be close enough to get a draft. But it looks like Justin Anderson has a much better drive out of turn 12 in comparison to Sean. And while he may be faster through the rest of the section, the track, not being able to keep up with Justin out into the front stretch, that's going to be his Achilles heel. If he's not able, as Sean goes hard into turn 1 and 2, they are catching lap traffic, and Ed Springer is going to throw a little bit of a wrench into Sean Carmody's plans, but he's catching fast and trying to keep himself within a half second to hopefully be able to make that pass into turn 1, if not before that point. And while this one's getting interesting, no, we're going to go ahead and stay here. As Brandon Bernhardt, that was perfectly timed. As Brandon Bernhardt and Andrew Burgess tag one another. But let's get back up to the front here. Justin Anderson and Sean Carmody, as Justin goes a little bit wide out of turn 10. Sean gets the pass done, but Justin is going to be right there, potentially getting enough speed, knowing that he has been faster out of turn 12 and into 13 for quite some time. But Sean Carmody is the leader of our race with 7 minutes left, with Blake Gordon following behind him. We're going to see, is Sean, just knowing he has been the faster driver here, is he just going to tear away from Justin Anderson and just run away with this win? As we see that, we're going to take one more quick break as Justin Anderson actually goes off track, gets the position to Blake Gordon. Luckily, he has about 5 seconds now to Joe Dinsmore behind him, but he has moved himself back into third place. So while we have this going, let's go ahead and take a quick break and hear from Guitar Addict one last time. And we'll come back with 5 to go and take it all the way to the checkered flag.
Hi, I'm Randy from the Guitar Addict. Can we be serious for a second? Are you tired of being a loser? Can't do anything right? Feel like everyone's coming down on you all the time? Well, there's a way out, and I'm going to show you. Hey Mom, look what I learned. That's right, pick up a guitar, learn how to play guitar. Automatically you're going to become a chick magnet. The ladies are going to love you. Your kids are going to think you're cool. So what you need to do is come down here to the Guitar Addict, 16725 Ridgewood Avenue in Daytona Beach, Florida, or go on guitaraddict.com and buy yourself a guitar and automatically be the star of your neighborhood. That's guitaraddict.com.
Alright, as we are back with 5 minutes left in this race, Blake Ziti and William Klingbill were getting a little bit close while we were at break, but it looks like Blake is making his way, creating a gap. He is faster in that final sector, but William Klingbill, no, that's not the right person, is definitely faster in sectors 1 and 2, just does not have the speed coming out of turn 11, and then in turn 12 and 13. But he is making a charge to get himself back up to closer to where he started. William Klingbill was actually a bit slower in Sector 2 that time around. And is blinking out a little bit on us. But this is without a doubt the closest, as Greg Wellen passed William Klingbill. As it looks like we may have lost. Oh, he went off track. We lost him. We lost him for a moment. Oh, in the same place he did earlier. Got a little throttle happy coming out of turn 10, which some people are dropping down into first coming out of that corner. In my mind, it's better to go ahead and keep yourself in second. Have that extra traction. But as we move a little bit farther forward, we're seeing Greg Wellen, who was running at the front until he had a few issues, right on the tail of Blake Ziti, and is not giving him an inch. He's hugging that curb, getting himself set up for hopefully a great run out of the turn. Blake runs wide. Greg is alongside him and should have the position going in here, and Blake just lets him take the position, being a gentleman there. And now Greg is going to try to set his sights on Adam Wood, but it's only 2 minutes left. And Justin Anderson must have made a pit stop, but blows his braking point, goes into the runoff, and ultimately has made his way back into third, or 13th. As our leader, Sean Carmody, has opened up an 8-second gap to Blake Gordon, who is most likely just nursing this one home and just trying to keep his 6 seconds over Joe Dinsmore. But chances are, because iRacing makes no sense, it should be the white flag this time around as Sean Carmody hits the stripe. Should. Probably won't. But there's a reasonable chance it will be. But definitely, we have spread ourselves out. The order is pretty set. But right now, Dan Shirley is looking to get himself around Carl Henderson, who's actually having a great run tonight. As he goes wide, coming out of 7. And is now under pressure from Justin Anderson. He's going to set himself up for turn 11, most likely, to get around Carl. If not, he will get him on the fast section. As yes, he gets down below Carl Henderson in 12. Gets the job done. Carl runs a little bit high. And apparently we are going to have one more lap. But Dan Shirley is coming up hot on Andrew Burgess and looking to get himself into the top 10. He is low going into turn 1. Does not have the move done, but he has Justin Anderson coming up right behind him. And if these guys can ultimately get close enough, I'm not sure if this is the last lap or not. iRacing likes to be weird. But Justin Anderson is right behind Dan Shirley, gets below in turn 6, and no, we are actually checkered flag as Sean Carmody gets his maiden win in the Cup Series in a commanding fashion. over Blake Gordon, who will take second, and Joe Dinsmore in third. And right now, the rest of the field is going to make their way around. As we have Adam Wood getting a 5th place finish, followed immediately by Greg Wellen. Blake Ziti is coming in 7th, and Justin Rodden in 8th. And it looks like Sean's going to make the full lap before he gives us any kind of a show and burn the Goodyears to the ground. There's no denying that tonight, honestly, this has been quite an interesting one. Because we are definitely seeing quite a few people that we would not have expected in positions that, well, not surprising for anyone that has followed them. It's great to see Sean Carmody get his first win this early in his Cup career, followed by Blake Gordon, Joe Dinsmore in 3rd, Brian McPherson 4th, Adam Wood 5th, Greg Wellen 6th. We have Blake Ziti 7th, Justin Rodden in 8th, William Klingbill 9th, Justin Anderson 10th, Dan Shirley 11th, Carl Henderson 12th, Andrew Burgess 13th, Kevin Muller 14th, Brandon Bernhardt 15th, Ed Springer in 16th, John Gordon 17th, Kevin Haas in 18th, Steve Gottschalk 19th, Nick Adams in 20th, Mike Burgess in 21st, and Timothy St. Jean in 22nd. So let's go ahead and bring up our winner. Hey, Sean, this is Josh in the booth. You got a copy?
Josh, I got you loud and clear, man. Am I happy to hear your voice?
I'm happy to hear your voice at this point. Great win tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I was in practice, and these guys were a good second and a half faster. And then in qualifying, I found a half a second. The first stint, these guys, I didn't even see them. And I even made a joke to Blake. I said, man, we live close enough. I want to come to your house and watch you play this, because they had a big lead. And I've seen his equipment. It's very similar to mine, but he's just a good driver and going so fast. So on the second stint, when I kept seeing them close proximity, I was like, whoa, what am I doing right here? For once, I can finally hang with these guys.
So you brought up one big thing, and if we talk about pure pace, you were at least a second off of about 5 to 6 drivers. But the one thing that most people don't actually think about enough, it's running those fast-ish laps consistently.
Yeah, my spotter told me where my laps were, and they seemed pretty consistent. I tried matching my braking points. I definitely wasn't the fastest car, but like you said, I guess the consistency. It's unfortunate for my teammate. He got together with Greg. I know his car took some damage, but once I started reeling Justin in, that surprised me just as much. And I felt like I still had some tires on the car, so I was going to get everything I had. And to be honest, it was a shock that I was even in first. I had to scroll through my black boxes a few times just to confirm. And then I thought I threw it away with fuel, but my guys told me I was going to be fine on fuel, so I just drove it home and made sure I got across the finish line.
So you brought up one thing that I have to ask. How close were you to running the tank dry tonight?
I had one more lap in the tank. And if I was going to do anything, I was going to hold the clutch in and coast all the way in. Either that, there's no chance I was pitting. I was going to go first or last.
Honestly, that's the best way to do it. And iRacing has a tendency to be strange in the timed races to where, I didn't know that you guys got the white flag, because who knows when it's actually going to happen. And sometimes it'll actually wait until you finish time. And knowing that you were going to end up running dry I'm glad it went when it did.
Yeah, if we were gonna go on time, I was even keeping an eye on the time because if I had to slow up, I would have done it. But if there was still a minute left when I came to the finish line, and I think the last lap I would have came in on fumes. But the white came out to my surprise. I was watching it and I said, "Man, I can't lose a whole minute here. There's no way." So I went for it, and like I said, it was go broke. I was gonna go all the way and coast across in fumes, or someone was gonna push me across. Hopefully.
So I also have to ask one last thing. How frustrated were you, yet also probably just amused, when you and Blake were going side by side for like 3 laps in the middle of the race?
You're referring to ZD or Gordon?
Yes, ZD.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, ZD and I, we ran it clean. We were going back and forth. It's always fun running him. It's one of those give and take things, you know. If he's got it, I'm going to give it to him. If I got it, he's going to give it to me. We're going to keep it clean. But like we said, always, there's no team order. So if I got the spot, I'm going to take it. It's just I'm not going to drive it in deep to get it. But he knows when I got it, and I know when he's got it, and we don't fight. We just, okay, you got it.
No, that was actually some of the most entertaining racing that I had to watch tonight, and unfortunately he had a few bobbles towards the end of the race and dropped back a little bit, but no matter what, it was a great showing from Endeavor tonight. Unfortunate that Blake took a little bit of damage, but again, a great consistent run from you tonight and giving us TNT guys a great name.
Absolutely. I'm just happy. I thought I was excited to get the TNT. When the Sportsman win came, I was excited about that. But I seem to win on these oddball tracks, whether it's a dirt track or a road course. I haven't got a genuine win on an oval yet. In TNT, I have, but I'd like to get up there with the guys who are really familiar with the ovals because that's where we're all home base. And a lot of guys, they just focus on oval, whereas I love this game. So I play road course, I play dirt, I play rally, I do it all. So, I don't have. This is my first time on this track. But just in general, I know some guys don't have load cell pedals. I know some guys got lower tier equipment that really makes a difference on these road courses. But nonetheless, I'm really happy with the way I drove. I did get some things in my favor, but I was excited to finish first, and I think my teammate finished second. Everybody congratulated me, so it felt great.
No, it was a great run, and I'm sad to not see you every Thursday anymore, but getting to watch you come out here and show that there's a new generation coming and these guys need to watch out. It's great.
It's shocking to see that, to even see the 48 car in front of me. It's one of those things where I'm like, uh-oh, I must be making progress. I know he had a damaged car, but it's a compliment to him. Every week, him and Justin are the guys to beat. Joe, a lot of these guys are up front every single week. So if you can get behind them and learn something, by all means, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll keep them as close as I can and pick up from them every day until I can run their pace.
No, great run. Congratulations. Go celebrate with your team, because unfortunately I got to anger Blake momentarily.
All right. Take care, Josh. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and bring up Blake. Hey, Blake, this is Josh in the booth. You got a copy?
Of course, Josh. Oh, do you hear that static too? Or is it just me?
I got a little bit of it. It's not.
Hang on one second. What about now?
Nope, we're good.
All right.
Great run from you tonight. Had an unfortunate incident. Took a quick look at your car in race and unfortunately could tell you had a little bit of damage and kind of had to nurse it home. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, it was killed. The left front got pretty beat up. And left-handers throughout the rest of the race were not fun. Just didn't want to make the turn at all. So that was unfortunate. Even if that didn't happen, Justin and Greg were really fast. Sean was really fast. I don't know how much the damage really hurt me the rest of the race. I mean, obviously it didn't help. So just glad I was able to nurse it back home to second. So I'll take it. I mean, I hated every second of that race. That track sucks. I really never want to see us race there ever again. It's not a track for stock cars at all. The flow is terrible.
No,
So
it is easily one of my least favorite road courses because it, yeah, I could go on for days about how much I hate this track.
yeah, me too. Like the first sector, like just it got all the corners have like they tighten up, they don't tighten up. You can't see them. They're so flat. The car doesn't want to turn. Fun track in like an open wheel car, but man, the stock car is just rough. That sequence from 8, 9, and 10, the sweeping right hander. After that infield straightaway, you got that left hander, then the right into the 90-degree left. That corner, man. Every lap, I'm just like, oh, here we go. It's gonna suck.
Yeah, no, that I probably referenced turn 10 in the podcast like 20 times because no, I absolutely loathe that turn.
Yeah, it's not fun. But yeah, congrats to Sean for nabbing his first Cup win tonight. That dude, he's going to be a threat. The more he races around like the faster guys, the quicker he's going to get. And that's really how you learn, is racing with the fast guys. So the more time he spends up racing with us, the more things he'll learn, whether he knows he's learning it or not. And he'll just consistently get faster and faster every single week. And then, yeah, he'll be up there. It was good to see him come up and just be there in the right spot, do the right things, and get the win tonight. That was pretty cool to see.
Well, that was actually one of the things he brought up when we were chatting with him, was he just loves being up there because he said he didn't have the speed in qualifying. He didn't necessarily have it at the beginning of the race, but as he moved up towards the front, he was able to learn things from the guys running at the front. He was maybe 7th in terms of fast lap tonight, but he turned it on when he needed to.
Yeah, I mean, I know me personally on iRacing, I was kind of like at a plateau, didn't really get a lot better. Had a little bit of a breakthrough, started getting into more second and top split races, and then my mind was just blown, and I just started learning so much. Like I only race fixed, right? So I know if I'm getting beat, it's because the other driver is just better than me. It's not because of their setup. So that takes that whole equation out of the picture, right? So knowing it's just coming down to skill, like it's just like, okay, well, you just got to figure out how they're beating you like that, and just racing around them. You see their lines, you can hear their throttle inputs and everything, and yeah, I picked up a lot of time once I started racing with the fast guys. So we're gonna create a little monster here with Sean. I can tell it's gonna be he might play spoiler in the playoffs for sure.
Well, and I'm looking forward to some of those people, to where tonight we didn't have Josh Hanner, and that's probably going to screw his chances of making the chase. But you're going to have people like Sean, Josh, Chris Passini if he's making races. We're going to see some of these guys coming in, taking wins from chase guys that could make or break that actual point standing every time we cut down the group.
Oh yeah, for sure. My personal opinions aside, I mean, guy with 5 wins not being in the playoffs versus guys with 11, 7, 8 provisionals, it's like, I don't know. I feel like we should have had like a win and get above a certain number, and then you can get in. But I mean, I wish he was going to be in the playoffs for sure. Hanner would definitely spice it up, make things interesting for sure. So.
Well,
but I mean, he'll still be up there in the front in all those races, so we'll still have to deal with him. But I guess if he's not going to be in the playoff picture, I guess that's kind of good for us, right? Because it's one less fast guy we got to deal with.
Well, and again, we've seen this is Sean's second win outside of TNT that we've seen. Granted, he likes to say that it's because it's oddball tracks, but honestly, I've run around him enough in TNT to know that this isn't a fluke. This is what's coming.
No, it's not. I mean, he races so much road outside of all the oval stuff we do. But you see me almost wipe out the whole front there on the restart. How'd you like that?
I didn't say anything about it.
Nah, I'll talk about it. I'll apologize for it real quick. I wanted Greg to watch me and pay attention to me, and maybe he'll miss his breaking point. And I'm watching the replay, and I go 100% brakes, and like the car just doesn't stop, and then it locks up. That's the first and only time I've ever had like that sensation in the car. So that was not at all the intent there. I don't know how I was able to kind of get it to steer to the right over the curbs and not into them. So I know it stacked things up behind us there. So apologies to everyone behind us who had to check up for that. And just glad I didn't wipe those two guys out in the restart, because that would have been less than ideal.
Well, in all honesty, like, that was the only thing that it's a restart in a heavy braking zone into a tight turn. It's inevitably going to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's part of why I hate this track.
Yeah. Yep. I hope we never come here again. So that's all I got to say about it.
No, but great run tonight, especially with limping home some broken gear. But it'll keep you, actually, with where Justin ended up finishing, that should make a huge dent in the standings and should bring you a lot closer to being back in the lead.
I'm assuming he ran out of fuel pitting a lap early before the stage yellow came out, which is something I'm going to be picking out with the admins, because I thought pit road was supposed to be closed. But I do remember not hearing anyone address that, but that's how that should be. That's how it was in the sportsman race. So
he came in before the yellow came out.
I know, that's my thing. I think the pit road was supposed to be closed like 2 minutes or so before. I just think no one went over it. No one really knew. So I guess we'll have to figure that out, see if I'm wrong or that was supposed to be the case tonight. But
I'll admit that had I been running, I probably would have done the same thing.
Well, yeah, that's the strategy. But then the kicker, just with where we had the stage yellow, that's kind of what you run into. You wouldn't have had enough gas for the finish. And then we had that one extra pace lap for all of us to save gas. If we didn't have that extra pace lap, I think we all would have been out of gas and having to take a splash and go late in the race. So
what ended up happening with that? Was it extended or was that iRacing?
It was admin extended. The rear of the field didn't catch up before they pit, so they were like half a lap behind us coming to the green. So they extended it so like those 5 or 6 guys back there could catch up.
That makes a lot of sense, because I brought Adam into the booth and he said that we were 1 to green, and it ended up not happening. So
yeah, that's just the problem with these road courses, is getting the field bunched up to hit pit road and then bunched up to take the restart, because we were going single file through the pace lap because of 8, 9, and 10. So we'd come out of that corner, then have to line up anyway. So we didn't really have a lot of time to get formed up. And with those guys like half a lap behind us, I would absolutely agree with extending it to get them caught up.
No, but great run tonight. Glad to talk to you always, and unfortunate circumstances kept you from the win, but we got a new winner this week.
Yeah, so congrats again to Sean, and we'll go get him next week.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, sir.
No problem. See you tomorrow night.
Yep, see ya.
See you.
All right, and that is going to wrap it up for us tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow night we are going to have our inaugural race broadcast for Fuel Racing League. It'll be from Daytona. It's going to be a great time. You'll get to see our top 2 finishers tonight running with Endeavor. Myself, Nick Adams, Carl Henderson will be running the league, but just won't be there tomorrow night. It's going to be a great time. These guys are amazingly fast, and I don't plan on being any higher than the top 10 ever. And then Thursday night, the TNT series. Friday, make sure and join us for the podcast. And then Sunday night, I will be right back here with you. So, this is Josh Laston. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you hopefully tomorrow night.
Thank you for watching iRacing on the Ghostfire Media Network.